Architects and engineers are terms that most of us may not be familiar with when putting up their own projects. Well, today on the show we have these two professionals who will give us more details as to how they are important to any project and their specific role and how they do it. Welcome to the Realtor. I'm Karanja Daniel, and today is all about engineers and architects. Well, we are now joined by a profession in the industry of construction who is an architect. They'll be telling us more about what they do and how they are important to any project. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
My name is Joe Nyaga Mugambi. I'm an architect and a project manager. An architect is a person who is more involved in the design process. It takes first the concept of the client. Then after that, he get the design process, the design part, the architectural drawings. Then after that, the architect, he goes to do the project management as a consultant. Yes.
All right. Well, an architect is a term that might not be familiar with some of our viewers. They just believe they'll have a person who builds up their houses and the houses will be done. Define an architect for the common mwananchi or the common Kenyan who wants to put up their next project.
Okay, an architect is a person, basically a professional who designs a particular project to be constructed. Like if you want to do a project like a home dwelling or a residential, you involve an architect to give the design process, the plan views, and the entire design process. The design process is a bit little step, and I will explain it. So the architect will give the entire design process, get the concept of the client. The client is the one to give the ideas. Then the architect will implement those ideas to the reality of the particular project.
All right.
Yes.
So basically what they do is take a client's idea of what they want their home or commercial projects to look like, and you conceptualize it.
Yes.
Tell us why an architect is important in any project.
Okay, an architect is a professional who is more important in a design process and the construction process. First, before you engage any other person, if the contractors, the project managers, first you have to get an architect to give you the visualization of the entire project that you're going to construct. An architect is more concerned on the plan view and the design process of a particular project that you're going to construct. The design process is what entails to the construction work. First, you love to get the design before you go to construct. Like you can't construct before you do the design process. First, you have to get the ideas in paperwork before you go to the ground.
All right. Take us through the process. I am a client, or a client has approached you. I want a house done, and I approach you. What's the process like? Let's say I'm in your office right now, and I want a certain house done.
Yes, so the first thing, the client is the one to come with the idea and basically of what she wants or what you want on a particular project. Now the client will come with an idea. Maybe he can do a list form of what you entails. He can give ideas maybe in pictures, in images, in videos. After that, the architect now takes the brief of the client and now implement something called a plan view of that particular project. After you get the plan view, you will present it to the client. Now the client is the one to agree if this is okay with the plan, the measurement of the plans is okay, the dimensions, the number of spacing, the arrangement of the spaces, if they're okay. If they're okay, now the client goes to the next step of something called the 3D visualization to show you the exterior part of the particular project, how the building will be visualized on the ground, like the entire project after it is complete, how will it be at the end last of the project. After that, you'll do the construction drawings and the approval drawings. Before constructing, you have to get the construction authorities from the county, and any construction board, you have to get the authority from them so that you can construct. Now the architect is the one to document all the documents. First you document the documents for the approval process. It is called the working drawings, which they are taken to the county for the approval services. Then after that you will document another document called the construction document, which you will give to the project manager or the contractor.
All right.
Then after that you will give a consultant to the client. He'll be coming to the ground to check the work of the project manager or the contractor.
Let's go back a bit. I have submitted my idea to you and you have come up with a concept. What if I don't agree to it? Is there another process that diverts from that?
Every presentation we do to a client, first the client is the one to approve the presentation. The first presentation is the floor plan presentation. The client is the one to agree if this floor plan is okay with her or with them. If it is not okay, the architect is going to go back to the table and review the ideas and the correction that a particular client brought out. Then after that, after the client is sustained with what the architect gave him, you do another presentation, the second presentation. Now the second presentation, even that the client can say, I want more from this or I want less from this. The architect is the one to go back again until the client is yes.
All right. So the client has accepted the final drawings or the final visualization of the house. You mentioned a few processes after that. Are these still the architect's roles to perform these processes? Maybe the approval from the various government and other approval offices?
So first, I said an architect will also serve the role of the consultant to the client. Now, okay, during the management of the client, you don't introduce a client to a lot of people. So the architect is the one to manage the other people on the process. If you are going to the approvals, the architect is the one to manage the people on the approval facilitation on the approvals. Then after that, the architect is the one to manage the project managers and the contractors. If you start with this particular project from the design process, you will continue with the entire process with the client as his consultant. You'll be giving the orders to the ground, like the contractors is the one to take orders from you, not from the client. The client will give you some orders and those orders you'll give to the contractor. Now the contractor is the one to give maybe orders to his the workers
on the ground.
Yes.
All right. Let's talk about architecture in Kenya. Do most people agree to using an architect for their buildings? What's the place that the architect has here in Kenya? Are there more of them being used in projects or where are we?
Okay, if I take you back in some years, the professionals, the architect, they were not more used. On that old time, they thought architects are so expensive to be handed over, and they thought that taking the professionals, it would be so expensive for them. But now, if you engage a fundi without engaging these professions, if you engage a fundi in doing a particular project, if you eliminate using the professions, you'll not be able to get the suitability of what you want. You won't get what that suits you better. Yeah.
You're right, because I remember I also saw that we used to call a fundi. They'll tell you this is supposed to be here. They wouldn't even draw it to a certain extent, and they'll just explain it to you and then put it up. Could you say that specialization has made it better, that a client can really get what they want instead of using the fundis as you mentioned?
Okay, like involving an architect, before you start the construction work, the client is able to get an idea of what is going to be constructed. Now using a fundi, you won't get the entire design process. You just sketch a layout, but you not get an idea of what you're going to get in the ground. So some client gets surprised of what they get, the product. But if you involve an architect, will take you the entire process before doing the construction work. Like before you start the construction work, a client is able to visualize the entire project up to the end before it starts.
Right. So in simple terms, they can have a preview of their to-be house or commercial building.
Yes.
Before it's even done.
Yes.
All right. What are some of the challenges that you face in the industry as an architect?
Okay, most of the clients that the potential clients that want to construct, most of them, they tend to believe that these professions are very expensive, but they are the key. If you don't use the architect to your certain project, there will be some problem that cannot be solved. But if you use this profession, it will be more easy to you. That is the first challenge. Then the second challenge is about the perception of the client. they tend to believe that they don't need the architect or the consultants, but you can't engage a fundi to do a sketch and you take it to the county to be approved.
All right.
Yeah.
Would you say that the government being one of the processes that you have to pass through when you're doing your building is to get approval from various government agencies, NEMA, be it the local county government, to get your approvals? Would you say that the government through these bodies has enabled you as architects to be more relevant in the industry and to get some work from your clients?
Yes, I can agree with that. Like the government has introduced a lot of bond, the construction bond. We have different construction boards in Kenya, which for you to give a certain project, you have to be registered in those boards. You have to be a registered architect to build up a project like this. Like this particular project, it has to have a registered architect that is concerned with this project. This has helped on the quality of the materials used, the standard of the project coming up. Like on the old time, the structures are not built to standard view, but as the government introduced these boards, now the project have been constructed using the standard view that are required in those boards. So every particular project has to have a registered professional, an architect, an engineer, a QS of that particular project, or it will be answerable for that particular project.
All right. You have mentioned some other professionals that carry along or move along with you on the job process. Kindly tell us more about them and how they assist or work together with you as an architect in any project.
Yes, so the first professional is the architect who comes up with the concept and the design of this particular project. Then the second person from the architect is the engineer, the structural engineer. If it is a building, if it's a civil, you get a civil engineer. So after that, you get that structural engineer. The structural engineer is to do the structural designs, is more concerned on the answerability of that particular structure, on the steel work, the reinforcement of concrete. Then after that, there is another profession called the quantity surveyor. Is the one to do the quantities of that particular project. After the QS, you get the contractor who come up with a member of a build-up member. The first member of the contractor is the subcontractor. Then the skilled laborers and unskilled laborers, the procurement people, the logistic people to move the materials to the site. Then after that, now the project take off.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show and informing our clients about the use, or rather the importance of having an architect in their project.
Thank you so much.
All right, viewers, there you have it from an architect who will advise you or help you get the right approval so that your building or your project is not illegal. Well, we'll take a short break, but when we come back, we have another professional who goes hand in hand with the architect, and that is the engineer, to give us more details about how you can come up with your project. See you after the break.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories. Next on Men's Conference.
Body count. The one topic that men brag about amongst themselves, but are very weak to answer when they're with the girls. And real Kevin, what's your body count?
It's above 1.
Would the number of men your girl has had in the sheets matter to you?
I bet this guy looks at his woman and is like, me with your eyes. You cannot give advice on something you have zero experience.
Tell them!
If you are chasing that woman for sole purposes of quote unquote sampling, that's wrong.
About the body count today, isn't it?
Men's Conference, every Wednesday at 10 p.m. You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Welcome back to the show, viewers. We have just had an informative session with an architect, and now we shift gears to someone else who is involved in the construction process, and that's an engineer, who will tell us more about what they do and why it is important to have one in your next project. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Kindly introduce yourself and tell us what you do.
So my name is Eric Washira. I'm a structural engineer at Pacific Realty Investment.
All right. What does the structural engineer do? It's a term that maybe some of our viewers may not be familiar with for their projects.
So a structural engineer, an engineer generally is a person who brings about technical support or technical assistance and does it in a project, in any project, and does it at a cost-friendly, in a cost-friendly manner.
All right. So let's wind back a bit. I am a project owner, or rather I want to do a project. My architect has come and we have drawn or rendered the looks of that particular house. Where does an engineer fit in, and how do they get into the process?
So once the client and the architect have agreed on the spaces and the outlook of the house, it now falls upon me to make sure that the house stands, that the house is not a hazard later. Because a house is a long-term investment, so it must be designed in. It must be. You must involve a structural engineer to make sure that the house makes it to the end of its designed lifespan.
Right. Yeah. So we are on site. How does an engineer ensure this in practicality? We have the design, we have the materials, and now we are on site. What's the work of the engineer on site?
So before I even start my design work, I have to go to make a site visit, assess the type of soil, because the design involves calculations, and those calculations will be determined. The calculations are the ones that we are going to advise on the materials. That the calculations advise me on the materials, and I then advise the company on which materials, because each project is unique depending on the type of soil. So we start with the foundation. I go assess the type of soil. The type of soil is the one that will now advise us on the materials we will use, and also the type of foundation we are going to use for a certain house.
All right. You have mentioned the type of soil, and Kenya has various topographies or various types of soil. Yeah. Is there a soil that is favorable towards projects, and are there soils that are more costly, maybe for our viewers who may have projects in the future to know about?
Actually, most of the clients don't know this when acquiring plots.
Yeah, when buying their plots, exactly.
But that is a very critical part that one needs to consider. In engineering, the most favorable soils are the red soil and the marram soil. Even the rocky soil, the soil that has got a rocky substratum,
yes,
is also favorable.
Why are these soils favorable?
These soils, we consider in engineering field, we consider these soils to be generally to be stable, and that translates to using to being less costly.
All right.
Because if you get a soil that is not stable, like let's say black cotton, you need to do things like the ground beam to support the house and make sure the house is stable from the ground up, and things like that.
So which means the red soil is cheaper to do work on, and the black cotton soil will be more expensive, since you have to do or rather you'll incur more costs in the construction of the foundation.
Yes.
All right. So viewers, that's an advice you need to take. If you're looking for a space, make sure it has some better soil so that it makes it easier for you to put up your house. Let's talk about engineers in the country. Yeah. Are more clients preferring to use your services, or are they still in the old way of, I'll just call a fundi and he'll put up my house?
In Kenya, generally, there is this misconception that when you involve professionals in your building works, it will be expensive, and that is what has led to most Kenyans not going for professionals. They like the backdoor method of going to fundis and other people who they presume to have knowledge about the building industry. But what I would advise Kenyans is that in the long run, you might think that it is cheaper to involve people who are not professionals, but in the long run, it might cost you big time.
All right. Well, we have talked about generally the engineering field in Kenya. Let's talk about the project behind us, and maybe we can take some time and you can show us around.
Okay.
All right. So before we just get into the house, there are two very noticeable pillars in our entrance.
Yeah.
Is this part of the work that you do in ensuring that they're stable for the building?
Yes, in as much as these are decorative pillars,
Yes.
they must be structurally fit. You see, above there they are carrying the roof and and that beam. So I must design them in such a way that they are able to withstand that force.
All right.
Yeah.
So you make sure they have the right mixture,
Yeah.
the right metals,
Yes.
or the right ions to be
Yeah.
used.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, when we are designing the columns, it depends on whether the customer intends to add more floors on the top of the ones that he has contracted us to do. So we design them considering all those things.
All right.
Yeah.
So you're futuristic
Yeah.
in your buildings.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the foundation as we get in. Tell us about the thought process that went to the foundation to ensure that it's stable.
So as you can see, the soil type here is the red soil type. So that means the stability is okay. So we had to just excavate a little bit to be able to lay the foundation. So we excavated like 3 feet for the strip foundation and an extra feet for the pad footings.
All right.
Yeah.
So the foundation was a bit easier, a bit cheaper here.
Yeah,
The soil is a helpful
because of the
factor.
type of soil.
All right.
Yeah.
And that's why we mentioned that soil is an important aspect to look at when you're buying your next piece of land, probably where you want to settle in or building your building. Let's go inside and tell us more about the structure of the building.
Okay.
All right. So some work still in progress.
Yeah.
As you can see. So first of all, tell the viewers, what type of a house is this? How would you describe it?
So this is what we call a mansionette. It consists of 2 stories, the ground story and the upper story. Yeah.
Does the fact that it is 2-story, does the structural integrity have to play its part when doing the foundation?
Yeah, the structural part must be observed on whether it is a mansionette, a bungalow, or a skyscraper. Any building must adhere to the structural rules.
Let's talk about from the foundation up. We talked about the foundation, the type of soil, etc. Let's talk about from the foundation up before we get to the first floor.
Yeah.
What has to be considered for you to ensure it is stable?
So we talked about the columns. These are the supporting members, the masonry walls. We also have a slab that supports the upper floor and a roof beam that supports the roof.
From the brick and mortars on the side to the beams on the side, let's talk about the slab on top. I have gone around, maybe our viewers have gone to various sites and seen some sort of beams placed inside, holding the upper floor while it's curing.
So
what is that all about?
The process of coming up with the slab is called casting, and before we cast, we first make the formwork, and the formwork is supported by support we call the props. So the props might be metal props or wooden props.
So what we see are props.
Yeah. They support the formwork so that the slab can come out in a level manner, so that we also save cost on the things like plaster. So we also inspect the formwork before we inspect the steelworks.
So whatever happens up there, and an engineer being involved also helps in cutting costs.
Yes.
Trying to make it easier for the plaster.
Yes, remember I said that the work of the engineer on site is to bring about technical support that will help the company build a structurally safe structure at a cost-friendly way.
Right.
Yeah.
So how long should the beams stay up there? Let's go back to that. The ones that are supporting the slab.
Yeah.
How long should you advise clients, or rather your workers, to ensure that it's there so that it's strong and firm for the next phase of construction? Yeah.
So we talked about curing at the start of the interview. For the concrete to totally cure, it takes 28 days. And for now the fund is on site to remove the props, it must be at least 21 days.
21 days.
Yeah.
That's when they can remove the props.
Yeah.
And then go on to put up the upper floor.
Yeah. So before 21 days are over, no one should touch the props.
All right. So we are now upstairs. The slab has been laid. It has curated.
Yeah.
What happens upwards now as we head towards the roof of the house?
So now, after we cast the first floor slab, we make our walls. We build our masonry walls. Then we cast the columns. You can also start with casting columns, then building the masonry walls. Then after that is done, we make the formwork for the roof beam and cast it as per the structural specifications.
All right. Yeah. Once that is cast, does it take another few days is it given a few days to curate, or you can continue with the roofing instantly?
Oh yeah, there's the props, even for the roof beam, they must not be touched before 21 days are up.
Well, we have done the whole house up. Tell us your final words, or advise the viewers on your final thoughts on why they should think the engineer is important and apply these professionals in the next project.
My parting shot to the viewers is that they should always seek professional help in any problem that they have, be it in construction, be it in whatever thing they need to do, because in the long run, cheap is expensive.
All right.
Yes.
So they'll save a cost,
yeah,
and they will get their desired house.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for joining us and giving us your knowledge in engineering right here in Kenya, and making sure the viewers have a different and new perspective as to how they would handle their new projects. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
All right. Well, viewers, we have come to the end of another episode of The REALTOR. I hope you have gained some words or two about either using a professional architect or a professional engineer to ensure your house has the desirable attributes, not only the look, but also the structural integrity, as we have been informed by our guest of the day. Make sure you give us your feedback through the social media handles that we have right here on TV47. Give us your thoughts, opinions about this program, and any area of construction or the property industry here in Kenya you'd like us to cover. Until our next episode, keep it right here on TV47.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
This week on All Access, Rick Ross is actually thirsting on Hamisa Mobeto, and we are going to be giving you the details on that. Plus, on our 10 things with your favorite celebrity, we hang out with the amazing Masauti. If I was to take your phone, ama your wallet, utanipea gani?
Wallet.
Sahi tu so kesho.
Yeah. Kwani ni kesho?
And the Meet and Grill Tumblr edition went down over the weekend. We're gonna be showing you exactly how that happened.
Major! What Tumblr? I think of Major.
Major ni G.
Major!
Usijali bei nitalipa. If you know.
Download the Zenka mobile app today from your app store and enjoy up to 0% and 61 days to repay your loan. Zenka, introducing harmony and balance in your financial life.